So I have a few things. I blogged about them as well, but just kind of want to get those out there on YouTube as well. So number one, I think the best kettlebell for most people is the Rogue E-Coat kettlebells. And I think there are a few other made in American kettlebells that are basically the same thing, but I do think these are the best option for most home gym owners, especially those lifting in a garage. And also just this is for most people, not necessarily kettlebell specialists either. So you just want to be able to do the basic things with the kettlebell. So number one, I think the biggest thing for me is the durability is their biggest strength. So these, even when comparing to powder coat kettlebells, can take a much larger beating as far as like getting scratched, and also just with like the weather changing, they don't rust like at all. I've had mine for since COVID happened 3 years ago, and they basically look almost the same as they did 3 years ago. Whereas if you can see in the pictures, the powder coat ones, they rust and they chip, and like eventually they don't look very good at all. I actually wrote this article after so I had mostly powder coat kettlebells. I had some that I just like hadn't touched in like 3 years, like the lighter weight ones. So I sold them on Marketplace for like way cheaper than they should have been, primarily because they were so beat up, just like from not even being used. They just like, rusted in the garage. So yeah, I think like the durability of these is just way better than powder coat, which is, I think, is also like the other option people would consider. So yeah, I also like take into consideration resale value as well when buying. Next up, I think the grip is not quite as good as powder coat, but it's still solid. It pairs well with chalk. If I would rate like the grip on powder coat an 8, I would give these a 7. So I think that it's not as good, but still good enough. And again, I'm keeping durability as kind of the number one factor. And then lastly, I think priced very reasonably. So they are basically the same price as the powder coat Rogue ones. If you compare them to other import kettlebells like Rep or Titan, they're like a little bit more expensive. So I think just knowing that these are going to last longer, have a higher resale value. In general, they're priced very reasonably. So basically, those are the ones I would suggest. And yeah, I think that's it. Basically, these are just the ones I would recommend. And if I had to do it again, I would go with these.
Yeah.
Any
if I
questions,
could expand,
Adam?
if I could expand on the eco, I couldn't agree more. Just from, I'm not out in the garage, but my stuff still rusts in the basement.
Yeah.
So like having a coating is nice, and the eco is with the like strength coat plates, and they do really well. They
right.
can withstand being clunked around a little bit without scratching every time. So yeah.
Right. I would say that I wouldn't do this for a barbell. So I've also had an Eco Ohio bar, and durability, again, amazing. Like it's going to last forever, but the knurl's not great. So
I like bare steel when it comes to bars and knurling.
For sure. Me too. And I think I would go with this for a kettlebell because the grip isn't quite as important for me as a non-kettlebell specialist, but it's still good enough. So yeah, I think the E-Coat for the kettlebells, and then like you said, iron plates, very solid option.